Unmute my pack. There we go. I know we had problems on Sunday, so we'll see how the live stream goes. Welcome to Ash Wednesday. It is great to be able to celebrate this day with you. And I don't know what you're coming from. And so first, we're just going to enter into a song. This could be a chance for you to catch your breath, to slow down, to set the cares of today away. It's one thing when we get up and we get to come to church on Sunday morning and we don't have the explicit baggage from the day yet. And so often we can come to tonight with some baggage. The day has been stressful and all of that. So we get to catch our breath and we get to come and just relax for a moment. Let me pray for us. And then we're going to enter into a song. Jesus, as we recognize Ash Wednesday, as we begin Lent, and as we consider to where all of this is heading, to remember again your journey to the cross. Would your Spirit be here? Would your Spirit speak to us, embrace us, love on us? Would you touch our hearts and touch our minds? As the Prince of Peace in a world where too often peace feels absent. Amen. Let's open with some worship.
Savior, I come, quiet my soul. Remember, redemption's hill, where your blood was spilled for my ransom. Everything I once held dear, and I count it all as lost. So lead me to the cross where your love poured out. Bring me to my knees, Lord, I lay me down. Rid me of myself, I belong to you. And oh, lead me, oh, lead me to the cross. You were as I tempted and tried, human, and your word became flesh, bore my sin and death. Now you're risen, everything I once held dear, I count it all as lost. So lead me to the cross where your love poured out. Bring me to my knees, Lord, I lay me down. Rid me of myself, I belong to you. And oh, lead me, oh, lead me to the cross. Lead me to the cross. Oh, to your heart. Oh, to your heart. Jesus, lead me to your love poured out. Bring me to my knees, Lord, I lay me down. Rid me of myself, I belong to you. Lead me, oh, lead me to the cross.
Jesus, thank you for those lyrics tonight. That you're leading us to the cross and you're leading us to your heart, because your heart is the cross. Your heart is to co-suffer with us, to not abandon us, to find us in our places of alienation, in our places of loneliness. Thank you for that. Amen. All right. Well, we get to kick off Ash Wednesday as a community. If you'll put up my title slide, Tim. This is my amazing title for the sermon. No, Ash Wednesday. Welcome to Ash Wednesday. We're kicking off Lent. We're kicking off Lent, and I'm happy that you brave souls, some of you came out without necessarily knowing what you're coming into. Some of you, you haven't worked too much with Ash Wednesday. You may have heard of it. You may have seen people once a year walking around with weird ash mark on their head, and that's about all you know of it. Well, we start Ash Wednesday. It's a practice. It's a practice of taking upon our heads a cross of ash as an outward sign of some things that it means internally. And there's no magical anything that happens with the cross on your forehead. The ash, though, it comes typically from burnt palms. And typically it's the church from Palm Sunday the year before. They can burn the palms, and then they use the ash for the next Ash Wednesday for the next year. And the palms, they can reflect that they were once waved in praise of God enfleshed in the world. And burning the palms, though, can remind us of how quickly our high hopes, our high praise, it can fail us. These high words that can be directed towards our Creator can often feel like they go up in flames. We can feel distant from our Creator. We can feel like our own lives sometimes, with our own mistakes, destroy the praise we just were giving the day before. The Ash of Ash Wednesday is basically the other side of life's coin, from the side that sings praise to our God. It's a side of the coin when things come to not look so good, or even things come out of me that aren't so good. And so taking the ash and cross every year, it can coincide with me attempting every year to regain perspective. To regain perspective that can fall by the wayside after a year of life. It also shows as an outward mark to those who I encounter that I don't count myself as more perfect than them. I don't count myself as better. Taking on the cross of ash is the sign that I say, I'm fallible. I make mistakes. And I accept the mark that reflects to all of those who would see it, that I'm all too human too often. So at the end, we're going to invite those who want to join in the practice of receiving the cross upon their foreheads to come forward and to receive the cross of ash at the end. You don't have to kneel down. Some of you may have just seen Austin and I as I gave Austin the cross. Him kneeling down. It's a concrete floor. He's got young knees. You don't have to kneel. But you're going to be invited at the end of this to come forward if you want to take the ash today. And that's how we're going to conclude entering into Lent together. Put simply, Lent is basically about 40 days of preparation for Easter. And often, Lent is done by giving up something that we otherwise would like to do, we otherwise would like to have. And Lent can be marked by a greater attention to charity, an attention that can grow complacent through the rest of the year. It can be marked by extra time being dedicated to prayer and meditation. Personally, this year, I felt led on my own personal path. I know for some, they haven't experienced Ash Wednesday. And so I'll share just from myself as an example. Nobody has to follow my example. Please let God's Spirit speak to you. Let your mind lead you where it would in Lent. But I've been led, I feel, on a particular path. And this path is to seek time away from what attempts to make itself beautiful to me. But too often I discover time and again that it's really rather empty. It's much like the fig tree of leaves that draws me close, but when I look, there's not much fruit behind it. I feel led to replace what attempts to draw me in, to replace it with what is truly beautiful. As I've prayed towards Lent this year, this is the passage that has repeatedly come to my mind. And again, this is the First Nations version. I love how they also phrase this one. It's, last of all, my sacred family members, if anything can be seen as good and honorable, think deeply about these things that are true and noble, upright and pure, full of beauty and worthy of respect. Too often, beauty gets neglected as frivolous. Beauty can often be seen as an extravagance, when really beauty is a necessity. It's been built into our world. And if we'll stop to think about it, we will find that God has made beauty really rather common. It's not so common as to lose its value, but it's common enough that if we'll look for it, we will find it. We can find all the beauty of a lifetime, enough to fill our lifetimes for free, if we'll look for it. As I've turned my eye to see beauty in this Lent season, it popped into my head to go back to a painting that holds a lot of acclaim, and it came to greatly capture my attention over many, many years. It's Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. Sometimes there's beauty discovered, and then sometimes there's beauty rediscovered, because we can forget how beautiful things are sometimes. For me, the painting holds a beauty rediscovered after I've taken many years away from it. It's fallen out of my mind. It holds beauty still to be discovered for me as I get to look at it again this week and today. And Vincent actually considered this painting to be a failure. He wrote that this painting was a failure, and when I was asked to send off the series of paintings that this was a part of, he actually did not include this one. So when I look at this painting, I get to actually perceive anew the beauty that can actually be contained within what we feel is our failures. When I look at this, I get to consider the beauty of an empty church building, because the church in this painting is empty and the lights are off. I get to consider the beauty of that, because everybody's outside of a religious institution living life with each other. The lights of the houses are lit up. I get to consider the beauty that the tallest structure, reaching to connect heaven and earth in this painting, is not the opulent building of an institute of religion. The tallest structure in this painting that connects heaven and earth is a green plant. Real life is establishing the connection, not a building. Real life establishes the connection, but then I consider that this is a cypress tree. Cypress trees, they're connected to cemeteries and death. The cypress tree is connected to cemeteries and death, and Vincent van Gogh, he placed cypress trees in many of his famous paintings. And in this painting, Vincent places the tree, symbolizing a connection to death. He places it prospectively in the front. Death is looming in this painting. It's large and death seeks in this painting to be at the forefront of our attention. But Vincent, he often spoke of how gazing at the stars would actually lead him to dream and to hope. And as I look at this painting, I get to rediscover the beauty that he has placed the star, his symbol of hope, into the sky past death. He perceived a hope beyond death, and he paints that into this painting. The imagery is beautiful as I get to look at this and appreciate beauty during this time of Lent. And as we're now looking beyond death in this painting, we realize that the stars of hope in the sky are mirrored by stars of light in the village. There's light in the windows down below that are parallels of the stars above. And I realize that the beauty is that where he also finds hope is not in the dark institution of religion and the darkened windows of a church. He finds hope in the light of loving homes. People gathered around dining tables. People sitting and holding community. Those are stars of hope that he sees in his painting. There's so much more beauty in this painting for me to discover and rediscover after my time away from it. As I discovered his paintings in my mid-20s, I've always held Vincent to be a bit of a prophet. And I was eager to be spurred back to sit back down today with this painting as I started off Lent. It's probably my favorite painting of his, but there's a couple that rival it. Through my time appreciating his work, I actually never came to see something that I saw this year. It's a beauty that I only discovered today. And that beauty comes from the contrast of the looming death in this painting, but the hope that lies beyond it. A hope that draws our gaze simultaneously to a sky that looks beyond our world, as well as to the sprinkling light of love in this world. And what I found particularly beautiful about this prophetic painting is about how this painting can connect to Ash Wednesday. A day when we consider our mortality, when we consider death looming at the forefront, even though we look for hope beyond it. This is the day that we do consider our mortality, and we feel for how we tend to act in certain ways that damage our own lives and damage the lives of others in their mortality too. And on Ash Wednesday, we seek to refresh and to refocus our thinking, to pull ourselves out of the inevitable complacency that grows through the rest of the year. This Ash Wednesday, as Starry Night for me, came to combine with many other reflections. I offer you a bit of my reflection tonight. As the sign of the cross is placed in ash upon millions of foreheads around the world on Ash Wednesday, it's repeated over and over again. Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. It sounds doom and gloom, but there's a beautiful revolution hidden within those words. Think about dust for a moment. What is it to us? It's a nuisance. Dust is something that we want to wipe away. We want to sweep it away. We want to vacuum it up. We want to discard it. Dust is irritating, and dust is an irritant. It makes us sneeze. It makes us cough, and dust is powerless. Dust is powerless against a breeze as it's scattered and tossed about by forces so much bigger than itself. Nobody celebrates dust. We wage a war against it. And yet, this is what God chose to pour his love into. When God created humanity, he didn't start with what we would value as beautiful and rare. He started with dust. He picked up what was most common and most ordinary and seemingly unwanted, so that we can know when we too often feel inadequate, when we feel like failures, when we feel weak and we feel tossed around, remembering that we're dust. And the fact that God created with dust reminds us that God gathers exactly who we are. Dust. He doesn't dismiss it. There's this substance that blows helplessly in the wind, but God shapes it with purpose. What is powerless is empowered by God. I forgot to bring my book up here. I remembered, as I was reflecting today, I'm going to walk this way. Hopefully this doesn't go crazy. As I was reflecting today on Vincent van Gogh's painting, and as I was praying on things, I remembered a scene from the Chronicles of Narnia. It's a scene from the Chronicles of Narnia. It's a scene where Aslan comes to bring light into the darkness and to bring life to dust. And here's what C.S. Lewis writes. In the darkness, something was happening. A voice began to sing. There were no words. There was hardly even a tune. But it was, beyond comparison, the most beautiful noise ever heard. It was so beautiful, it could hardly be born. The blackness was overhead, but all at once, it was filled with blazing stars. The voice on the earth grew louder and more triumphant, and now something else was happening. Far away, sky began to turn gray. A light wind, very fresh, began to stir. The sky in that one place grew slowly and steadily paler. All the time, the voice went on singing. The eastern sky changed from white to pink, from pink to gold. The voice rose and rose. All the air was shaking with it. And just as it swelled to the mightiest and most glorious sound it had yet produced, the sun rose. The earth was many colors. They were fresh, hot, and vivid. They made you feel excited until you saw the singer himself. And then you forgot everything else. The lion was pacing to and fro about the empty land and singing his new song. And as he walked and sang, the valley grew green with grass. The lion spoke. Narnia, Narnia, Narnia. Awake, love, think, speak, walk, talk, be divine. Creatures grew from the ground, and Aslan breathed life into them. And he said, creatures, I give you yourselves. I give to you the land, the woods, the fruits, the rivers, the stars, and I give you myself. I love this scene and the vivid imagery with which C.S. Lewis writes, and this is what God did for us. It's a beautiful telling of creation. He took dust, ordinary, overlooked, powerless, and God said, awake, love, think, speak. He transformed the unwanted into the essential. He made what was tossed about and tossed out into something with purpose and direction. Consider your hands for a moment. Your hands are not just random collections of cells and atoms. When you look at your hands, this is dust transformed. This is what happens when God gets a hold of what we too often consider worthless. In the season of Lent, we're invited to fast. But understand this. To choose to fast is to choose to exercise the very empowerment that God has placed within our dusty exterior. To choose to fast from something is to join Jesus in his 40 days of fasting in the wilderness. It's a time where he didn't merely endure deprivation, he practiced mastery over his own being. The 40 days in the wilderness weren't punishment. It wasn't divine sadism. They were days to practice proving what Jesus was. He was empowered by the Spirit. He was a master of his own flesh. And so it is with us. We don't fast because we have a sadistic God who must be paid off in suffering. We don't deny ourselves because that's all we're worthy of. We fast to exercise what we are. Dust. Yes, we're dust. But we are dust that has been breathed into by God. We are dust that has been given authority over itself. We are dust with the power to say no when the wind tries to blow us. This is the invitation we find in Lenten fasting. It's not to suffer meaninglessly, but to practice our God-given empowerment. And to thereby remember that we are more than just our appetites. We're more than our cravings, and we're more than dust just blown around by desires. The message of Ash Wednesday is to remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. But it takes on a whole new depth when we realize that, yes, one day this body will dissolve. But that's not a tragedy. That's a promise. Our vessels of enslavement, of pain, of limitations. This cocoon within which a spiritual metamorphosis is taking place. This cocoon will one day dissolve. It will fall away to release us into full freedom. What appears to be death is actually liberation. But the cocoon must be destroyed for freedom to be felt. We look past the cypress tree to the light of hope, to the light of a God who gives life. Death was never the end of the story. It was always the middle chapter of the book. So today, as the ashes mark your forehead, as you hear it spoken over you, remember that you are dust, and to dust you will return. I want to invite you to accept the truth of that promise. For the time we have here on earth, we are beautiful, we are beloved, we are breath-filled dust. Each of us is a bit that has been touched by heaven in a special way. You, each of you, are what God always does. He takes what we think is ordinary and he makes it extraordinary. That's what each of you are. You are the powerless made powerful. You are the unwanted made wanted. You are the tossed about, now anchored in the arms of God. Nate's going to come up and close us with a couple songs of worship. I invite Austin up. Austin, for those who come to the front and want it, he'll give you the ash of Ash Wednesday. The cross that reminds us that we are dust, but we're so much more. I invite you, if you want, to come forward. Whether you take on the cross of ash today or not, I still invite you to fast with us through Lent, to exercise the proof that we're the common made extraordinary. And we've been empowered by God. We get to declare with the cross of ash a mark that simultaneously says that we know of our imperfections, but we know of our promise. Let's close with some songs of worship, and Austin will give you the ash of Ash Wednesday if you want to come forward and take it.
Humbly I stand in offering, with open hands, Lord, I bring everything and nothing less, my best, oh my all. You deserve my every breath, my life, oh my song. Oh, and I surrender all. Jesus, I surrender all. Lord, take control. Oh, I trust you. I'm letting go. Oh, to give you everything and nothing less. Oh, my best, my all. You deserve my every breath. Oh, my life, oh, my soul. Jesus, I surrender all. Oh, and everything and nothing less. I give you everything and nothing less. Forever, everything and nothing less. My life is yours, completely yours. Oh, everything and nothing less. I give you everything and nothing less. Forever, everything and nothing less. My life is yours, completely yours. And now my soul sings, your love it knows no end. Your love it knows no end.
As Nate continues to play, and even once he's done playing, you're invited to continue to sit here, rest in the promise of what this day means. This cocoon will dissolve one day with its pain, its limitations, and everything else that we experience in it. Know that that's a promise. And so please sit, rest as long as you need. I'll keep the building open until midnight if we need to. We'll put worship music on after Nate's done playing. You can just sit and rest and kick off Lent with Ash Wednesday. If you didn't receive Ash and you decide you want to, please grab Austin, grab me. Happy to pray with you. Give you the sign of Ash Wednesday. But whether you have that or not, your body is that sign. So you can rest and worship tonight for as long as you need. Thanks, Austin.
Well, I lift my eyes to see your face. Well, I know my help is in your name, in everything, held by hands of mercy. Oh, I will run, not grow weary. I will rise, and God my strength, my heart will trust. For all my hope is Christ alone. Oh, now my soul sings, your love it knows no end. Your love it knows no end. Your love it knows no end. Oh, now my soul sings, your love it knows no end. lead me to the cross.
Strength is failing, the end draws near.